Hi guys, welcome to our first online meeting. Let me see who is here. I don't think anybody's here right now, so I'm here all by myself right now. That's fine. But if any of you guys want to join in, you can ask me questions on Hangout or send me a text on Hangout. I'll answer it right away on air live. So let's talk about the class first. So far, we had some problem with the textbook. From what I just heard, the school are having the shipment just coming today. So if you come to school tomorrow, you'll be able to get your textbook. I'm so sorry for the delay. Nobody wanted this to happen, but it happened. Do this for me. So when you work on your homework, so for chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4, which I do on Sunday night, I know it's a lot to do. If you couldn't finish them all, I will catch you some slack. So send me an email. Let me know which one you didn't finish, and I will extend them for you. Okay, so I'll extend them for you until next week. So again, if you couldn't finish any of the homeworks from chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4 for this week, send me an email, and I'll extend them for you for next week. Now, for MindTap. For MindTap, some of you send me an email and ask me where the homeworks are. So this little design flaw by MindTap. Let me show you how to fix the problem. So let me share my screen with you. Full screen. All right. Now, when you go to MindTap, when you first log in, this is the page you see. Now, yours looks different, little different than mine because I have this recent activity grades. You probably don't have it. So this is what you see over here on the left. So it shows principle of microeconomics and then different weeks. And it says no activity due this week. Now this message is very, very misleading. If you follow this message, then there's nothing due for the entire semester. So it's a design flaw by MindTap. I already talked to the developers. They're working on it to fix the problem. But what you want to do, this is the problem. So what it is that by default, MindTap is on the week view. You had to change it to unit view. So go to the top over here. You see where it says view, and then right now it's on week view. Change to unit view. So go to unit view, and then this is everything you want to know. Okay, so you have your little introductions, and then see how they break it down by the exams. So exam 1, exam 2, exam 3. So go to exam 1. So on exam 1 over here, let's go to chapter 1. So for chapter 1, so this over here, the second item, that is your reading material. So you can, so if you click on it, this will show you the textbook. Okay, so let's see, clicking. All right, so this is a textbook. There's a function here that's very, very useful that you might want to use while you're reading the book. This software has a reader function. So you see this icon over here with a person and mouse open. If you click on this, this software, the MindTap, will read the book to you. So you don't even have to read the book will be read to you. So you can do your housework. I'm pretty sure you do. Many of you don't. You can play your Google, your Pokemon Go. I'm pretty sure you don't, but I'm also very sure many of you do play Pokemon Go. So you can play all those at the same time, listen to the lecture. Okay, so that's a function to have. And then over here it says called direct from text homework. Now see over here it says practice. So this is a very good practice to do. So if you open it, it will show you some practice problems you can work on before you can do the homeworks. So if time allows, do this one first. However, if you're in a hurry or don't have enough time to do everything, then do the required homeworks. So your APPEA homework, this one over here, this is required, and this will be counted to your final grade. So click on it, and then you're gonna have your question list over here. So for chapter 1, looks like there are 7 questions. And then for every question, you have 3 try. But when you do the 3 try, this is the trick. You have to grid it now to take advantage of 3 tries. So once you finish, you see how over here it says grid it now, and then the other one says save and continue. Every time you finish, click on grid it now. If you save and continue and then submit everything at the very end, you only have 1 try. Okay, so remember for each individual questions to take advantage of 3 tries, click on grading now every time you finish, and then we'll show you the right answers and show you how to do the problems. If you get it wrong, try one more time, and then the system will only take the highest grade. So even if you messed up the first couple tries, on the third try got 100%, that's fine. You got 100% for the assignment. Okay, but let's just give it a try. So let's say for this one, answer randomly. Let's say 2015, and then grade it now. So it's wrong. So this is explanation for you, and let's do try another version. And over here shows you on the first attempt you have 0, and on second attempt, let's say we try, I don't know, second one. Grade it now. It's 0 again. Okay, so show 0 again, and then you can try again. Try another version. All right, I want to get this one right. So you work as assistant coach on a university basketball team and earns $12 per hour. One day you decide to skip the hour-long practice and instead go to the movie theater, which has a admission fee of $8. The total cost of skipping practice and going to the movie is how much? All right, so you go to the movie, which will cost you $8. You skip work, which you lose $12. So this be total of $20. So 20, good now. All right, so we got it right. Don't worry about the average. It would take the highest score. Okay, so don't worry about it. All right, so that's how you do this MindTap stuff. Now, I do want to check on it. Let me see. Let me make sure that it's actually taking the highest grade, not your average for the MindTap. Okay. Course setting. Let me do this once we finish the meeting. Okay. Let me write a note to myself. Check for MindTap grading. So once we finish, I will change that. Make sure it's set on taking the highest, not the average. So check on grading. Okay. All right. So remember your chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4 are all due by the 24th, so Sunday night. Now let's go back. Let's see who's online right now. Oh, many of you online. So Tiffany is online, Amir, Aaron, Jared, Chad, Mr. Nafi. Mr. Nafi, send me an email. Let me know your name, your real name, so I can get your lecture credit online on your D2L. Okay, Stephanie is here, and Ashley. All right, so guys, remember if you have any questions, text me. I can answer online live. If not, then let's go over some PowerPoint on the chapters. Okay, so let's go over chapter 1 first. All right, so chapter 1 is on the 10 principles of economics. Now let's look at the first one. Now let's start with what is economics first. So economics is how society deal with our scarce resource, and then try to meet our unlimited desire. Seeing somebody just sent me a message. Let me see what it is. Oh, Tiffany. Okay. All right, Tiffany. Have any questions? Just ask me. Okay. Don't worry. I was late too. So Tiffany, I'm not sure which class you're in right now. For some class, they use MindTap. For other class, they use Applia. So it all depends on which class you're in. And then Nafi, I see you too. That's good. All right. So Tiffany, I think you guys might be using Applia instead of MindTap, but either one is same thing. Okay, same concept, same. Okay, you're in Applia. That's good. So Applia looks a little differently, and then for Applia, I think Tiffany, for your class, the online meeting was at 2 o'clock, not 3. Because for these people over here, they're on the little later schedule, so they're actually behind you guys. I think for your class, the test is this week, and then for this group, their test is next week. So check on your date. Okay, but have any question? Ask me during this meeting. Now let's continue on chapter 1. But Tiffany, I'll get you the extra credit for your class, so don't worry. Okay. All right. Now, so guys, imagine that if there is opportunity, okay, that you can have a free car. Would you take it? I mean, sure, right? Free car. Who doesn't want a free car? But the problem is that as a society, we don't have enough resource to give everybody a free car. So for some of you, that if you can afford to pay for it, you can get a free car. And for others, then you can't, so you don't have a free car anymore. So this is all economics. So economics is dealing with how each society use our limited resource to satisfy our unlimited desire. Okay, so that's what economics is. Let me see. Okay, all right. It's showing Aaron, it is showing that you're view this live video, so you're good. Don't worry. Okay. All right, Mr. Nafi. Okay, I got you. All right, now let's continue. Now let's go over the first principle. So this is very important. It's something called opportunity cost. So opportunity cost is not the actual cost you're going to pay for something. Opportunity cost is the opportunity you give up. So suppose right now you listen to me talking online, go over some material with you. You are having some opportunity cost. Now, like if you listen to me right now, you cannot play Pokemon Go anymore. So the opportunity cost of listening to me talking for 1 hour is giving up this opportunity to play Pokemon Go outside. Okay, so those will be your opportunity cost. So opportunity cost is the opportunity you give up by doing something else. And then for everything you do, there's always opportunity cost. Now, so number 2, the cost of something is something you give up. So that's very simple, very straightforward. Number 3, that in economics, we're assuming that everybody is very rational. Now, the rational means you make decision based on reasons, and then what is the opposite of rational? Irrational, or you can also think as emotional. So emotional is when you're based on reasoning, when based on decision on your emotions. We're also assuming that every single consumers, every single business, we make our decision based on marginal changes. That just means we compare what is the marginal cost, what's marginal benefit. If marginal cost is higher, then we don't do this activity anymore. If marginal benefit is higher, then we engage activity. Okay, so marginal cost, marginal benefit, whichever is higher. So marginal benefit is higher, you buy the good. Marginal benefit is lower, you don't buy the good anymore. If you want an example, just think about, does anyone or do you currently own 2 of the same game console? I mean, does anybody has like 2 PS4s, or does anybody has 2 Xbox 360s? Not really, right? I mean, you might have an Xbox One and an Xbox 360, or you might have a PS3, PS4, but nobody has the same 2 consoles. The reason why is that your marginal benefit for the first console is very high because you want to play games, so you buy the console. But once you have your first console, the second console, the marginal benefit is very, very low. So if you compare the marginal cost, your marginal benefit is lower, so you don't buy the second console anymore. Okay, so that's your marginal changes. And then number 4, that's fairly simple. So people respond to incentive. If you see an incentive, you work on it. I mean, a perfect example over here, we have an incentive for you to participate in this meeting, so you get 2 extra points. That's why you're here, right? So that's what is called incentive. And let's keep going. Number 5, trade can make everybody better off. Now, if you want to look what you're wearing right now, is there anything you wear that's made in America? I highly doubt it. Okay, the reason why is that everything's made in China or other countries. So trade can make everybody better off. That's why we trade. Number 6 is market. Is usually a good way to organize economic activities. So market is when you have a buyer and seller come together. That's a market. Okay, that's fairly simple too. US, we're the market economy. That means every decision in the economy is all made between our supply and demand. So business and consumers. Number 6, number 7 is very simple too. So government can sometimes improve market outcome. Number 8, I want to talk about. So number 8, it says a country's standard of living depends on its ability to produce goods and service. So when you look at how poor or how rich a country is, we don't care about how much money you have, because money is all relative. So for money over here, let me see, Gerald. Okay, Gerald, I will reset your MindTap quiz after the meeting. Okay. If you don't see it after the meeting, send me an email and remind me again. But I will reset after the meeting. Now, so for country standard living, the richest country in the world right now. So US, we're the richest country, but per person wise, we're only number 8. Right now, the richest country in the world is a country called Qatar. So the country has a lot of resource. So everybody is pretty rich over there. But just because you have money doesn't mean you're rich. So for example, do you guys know which country has the most number of billionaires? Billionaires with at least $1 billion. If you don't know this answer, I mean, you can ask your friends, ask your family. This is a very, very good question to ask. So which country has the most billionaires? The right answer is Zimbabwe. Now, if you know Zimbabwe is not that rich, Zimbabwe is actually a very poor country. Let's just send me a message. No, it's not Switzerland. It's Qatar. Qatar per personal income is the highest. But the country with the most number of billionaires is Zimbabwe. Now, no problem. That's fine. That's fine. So the reason why Zimbabwe. So Zimbabwe has a little inflation problem. So in Zimbabwe, now for our country, the smallest denomination for the currency is what? $1, right? So the smallest bill you have is $1. But in Zimbabwe, back in 2008, their smallest denomination was $1 billion. So 1 billion Zimbabwe dollars. So which means in 2008, if you have any money in the country, you're at least a billionaire. And then back then, their biggest denomination for bill in Zimbabwe was $1 trillion. So money was worthless. But you have money doesn't make you rich. Not really. So when you look at how poor, how rich a country is, we don't care about how much money you have. We care about how much good and service you have. Okay. All right. So that's number 8. Number 9. So inflation rise. Price will rise when government print too much money. So this goes back to our Zimbabwe problem. So this was exactly what happened to Zimbabwe. So Zimbabwe in 2008, they were printing too much money. The government was printing too much money, and then they were having record inflation. So inflation means price goes up. Now, for our country, for US, our inflation for 2015 was about 1%, a little more or less. So it's very low, very low. Zimbabwe back in 2008, their inflation was estimated over 1.2 billion percent. Now with a B, 1.2 billion percent. So this is what it means. Imagine, in February of 2008, if you go to a store in Zimbabwe, you want to buy 1 loaf of bread, will probably cost you about 6,000 Zimbabwe dollars. So pretty expensive for bread. But 6 months later, if you go back to the same store, you go buy the same loaf of bread, will cost you about $1.2 trillion. So that was their inflation. So pretty much money was worthless. And another example is you can think about inflation. So back in Germany during World War II or before World War II, so this is the early 1930s, before the guy with mustache coming office. So in the early 1930s, the German inflation was very bad. And then, how now over here, we're getting our paycheck every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks. In Germany, in 1930s, people were getting their paycheck twice per day. So you work half day, and then you take a 30-minute spending break. You buy whatever you need. Now, the reason why is that if you wait until end of the day, price will be higher. So that's how high inflation was. And then it got so bad that when people eat outside, so go to restaurant to eat, they prefer to pay first then eat. Because if you eat then pay, price is higher. So that was all because government was printing too much money. Okay, so that's called inflation. All right. Last principle, number 10. So society faces a short-term trade-off between inflation and unemployment rate. So this is what it is. Imagine you guys here. So everybody in America, that you will have $1 million lottery. So everybody win the lottery tomorrow. So tomorrow, everybody have at least $1 million. Now, once you have the money, what you're gonna do with it? Now, many of you tell me, "Oh, I want to invest the money." Trust me, you won't. You're gonna spend the money. So we're gonna spend the money, buy stuff, right? Now, the more stuff you buy, the higher the demand for the good, the higher the price will be. So when everybody have a lot of money, we buy more stuff, price goes up. So that's inflation. Now, on the other side, when you guys buying so much stuff, company need to produce more stuff. So at the same time, they will hire more laborers, so hire more workers and produce more stuff. So price goes up. At the same time, our unemployment rate goes down. So between your inflation and unemployment, there is an inverse relationship. That when inflation goes up, unemployment goes down. When inflation goes down, unemployment goes up. Okay. All right. So that's it for chapter 1. Next, let's do chapter 2. Oh, I have some more questions over here. So Amir, is there any global chart through this application to ask a question about the topic? Amir, this is fine. I mean, however you're asking question right now, that's okay. So ask question now, or just use your handout on the right side over here. When you use a handout, you can ask question immediately. And then if a government print too much money, inflation cures, why don't government just print a limited amount of money, less than what they do? All right, so Jared, here's the thing. Suppose you're the government. Now, well, you know what? Let's talk about U.S. government. So for U.S. government, what do you buy from U.S. government? Nothing, right? So government doesn't sell you anything. What the government does, government is not a revenue generating agency. Government is a revenue collection agency. So they will collect money from you. So for everything they do, government will be collecting the revenue from you. And then by doing so, we need to have enough cash. Now, if there's not enough cash, then government have to print more money. So to make ends meet, they need to print more money to pay for their utilities, to pay for electricities, to pay for government employees. So when that happens, then you're gonna print too much money, and then inflation occurs. Okay. So Tiffany, what is the content? For the content for exam 1, is over chapter 1 through 6. Tiffany, once you log on to Applia, for this week, I opened some practice problems. So there is a practice for each chapter. So chapter 1 through 6, and then work on the practice problem. That's a very good way to review for the final for the test. And then many questions on the test are coming from the practice chapters. Okay. Now for everybody else, for those of you who's using the MindTap, you don't have a practice review for your exam, but what it is that many questions on the exam are coming directly off your quizzes. So on your D2L quizzes, on D2L, go to the quizzes, and then many questions coming from there. Okay. All right. Then let me continue. Let me make this a smaller screen so when you guys ask questions, I can see it immediately. Okay. All right. So side by side, chapter 2. I don't want to see this right now. All right. So chapter 2 is Think Like Economist. Now for chapter 2, all you're gonna know is that now for the first part is not important. So scientific method, you guys will all know what that is. That's very straightforward. You learned it before for many years in school. So I won't test you on that one, but this is important. So the first diagram is our circular flow diagram. So for this diagram, if I were you, I will memorize this chart over here. Okay, so so you have two parties. You have firms and household, and then you also have two markets. There is a market for good and service. There's also a market for factory productions. Now it depends on which market you're looking at. If you're looking at the good and service market, now the green arrow representing money. So for the good and service market, money flows from the household to the firms. And then when looking at the market for factory productions, money goes from the firms to household. Now the red arrow representing your stuff, resource, good and service. So for the factory productions, the resource flows from household to firms. And then for good and service goes from firms to household. So it depends on which market you're looking at. The direction of flow is very different. Also, make sure to know what is the factory production. So factory production, according to the textbook, is the resource economy used to produce goods and service, which including your labor, land, and capital. Now, labor, they're the workers. Also, your human knowledge. And then land is more than the land you're standing on. Land is including all the natural resource. So water, lumbers, electricity. So all the natural resources in land. Now, capital is only your physical capital. It's not your financial capital. So stock, bond, money, they're not factor production. Only the physical capital, they're factor production. Now, the reason why the money is not a factor production, because when you open a business, you don't need money. What you need is what money can buy. So that's why money is not a factor production. And then same thing for you guys over here. So for every individual, that when let's say I give you $1 million, so your money, $1 million all yours, with only one catch, that this $1 million you can never spend it. Then what's money go for? Nothing, right? So we don't actually need the money. What we need is what the money can buy. I see, Tiffany, I didn't answer your question entirely. So the exam one is all multiple choice questions. Now, I think Applia allow you to come back to finish your exam once you save it, but I wouldn't do it because sometimes Applia has its problems, and then I had a student who actually almost finished the test before, and then they logged off. When they log it back on, everything was gone, and they start from scratch again. So it's much better if you finish everything in one setting. Okay, so just set aside maybe 2 to 3 hours and then work on the test. The test has 50 questions, all multiple choice, and then if you really studied, it shouldn't take it that long. Usually people take about an hour or so to finish the test. Okay, so so make sure to finish in one setting. All right, now let's continue for chapter 2. We talk about this. Now, this is important. So the production possibility frontier. Now, for the production possibility frontier, you need to know how to find out what is the opportunity cost, and also make sure to know what is efficient, what is inefficient. Tariq, you have a question. So if we purchase MindTap for the class, that also has a textbook, correct? Is it just online? If we purchase MindTap for the class, and also, so the textbook is only if you do the MindTap online, it will come with the online textbook. So that's that you don't have a physical textbook, but it's only an online textbook. I hope that answered your question. Okay. Now, if you buy the book from the bookstore has the physical book and also access to MindTap. So that way you do have both books, both the online book and also the ebook. I just checked with the bookstore. They told me that they just got a shipment today. So tomorrow morning, you should be able to buy your textbook from the bookstore. And then again, like I said, if you couldn't finish your chapter 1 through 4 by Sunday night, send me an email, and then I will extend the one you couldn't finish. Okay, so you probably extend it to next week. All right. Now let's go back to the PPF. Now for the PPF over here, what you need to remember is that for any point that's outside the curve, or for any point that's inside, so for this point F over here, now when you have a point that's inside the curve, they're called inefficient. Because for any point that's inside, then we're not using all the resources we have. And then for any point that's outside, so for point G over here, that will be impossible or unattainable because we don't have enough resource to obtain those points. And then for any point that's on the line, so like your points A, B, C, D, E, these points, they're called efficient because for these points, we're using all the resource we have. Okay. All right. So that's it for chapter 2. Let me see. Oh, make sure you know what's the difference between micro and macroeconomics, and also know the difference between a positive statement and a normative statement. Now, the book doesn't have a very good explanation for this statement over here, but let me give you an example. So suppose you compare iPhones and Samsung Galaxies. Now, if you ask me, iPhone's much better phone, but let's I have an iPhone, so let's make a comparison. So now if you compare regular iPhone 6 to the Samsung Galaxy, you're gonna see the Samsung Galaxy has a bigger screen. Now for that statement, we can measure it. We can measure how big the iPhone is, how big the Samsung Galaxy is. So that statement is based on numbers, it's based on facts. Therefore, that's called a positive statement. So any statement based on numbers, based on facts, we call them positive statement. Now, normative is anything based on personal belief or personal opinions. So if I tell you that I believe iPhone is the best phone in the world, now that's my own personal opinion, so that'll be a normative statement. Okay. All right. So that's it for chapter 2. Next, let's do chapter 3. All right, so chapter 3, we're going to talk about this comparative advantage and also your absolute advantage. Instead of going through all the PowerPoint over here, let me show you guys how to find out the comparative advantage and the absolute advantage. Now, I know the book has a certain way to do it, and then so is your mind tab at our Applia, but there is an easier way to do these problems. I call them 4 prices. So once you find out the 4 prices, you can find out what is the comparative advantage and what's absolute advantage. Now, for absolute advantage, so let me show definitions over here. Absolute advantage. So absolute advantage, the definition is the ability to produce a good using fewer input than other producers. But more than often, the question doesn't tell you how much input each country used to produce each good. So another way to think about it, for absolute advantage, if any country can produce more of the good, then this country has the absolute advantage. So if you compare our example in the book, that was between US and Japan. So for US, at maximum, we can produce 5,000 tons of wheat and then 500 computers. And then for Japan, at a maximum, they can produce 2,000 tons of wheat and then the 240. I'm sorry, it's 1,200 tons of wheat and then 240 computers. So if you compare the wheat production and the computer production, US can produce more of both good. Then we say US, we have the absolute advantage in production of both good. So remember that for any countries, it's very possible to have absolute advantage in production of both good. Now, for comparative advantage, it's always one country, one advantage. Okay, so absolute, it's possible to have both advantage, but for comparative, it's only one country, one comparative advantage. And let me show you how to find your comparative advantage. So let me start a new page on my notes section. Okay, so we're gonna find out the 4 prices. So will be the price of wheat in US, price of computers in US, price of wheat in Japan, price of computers in Japan. All right, so this is how you do it. Now, this price over here, we're not talking about the actual price in terms of dollars. What we're talking about is the opportunity cost. So in US, when you produce 1 ton of wheat, how much is the opportunity cost? That will be in terms of computers. Okay, so opportunity cost is always in terms of the other good. Now let's go to US production possibly frontier. There we go. Now, when you're looking for these 4 prices, remember whatever you're looking for. Now, even though there's so many points on this graph over here, the only 2 points you need are the 2 end point. So this point over here, which shows 0 computers, 5,000 wheat, and then this point over here shows you 0 wheat and 500 computers. So I'm going to show the endpoint on there. The 2 endpoints shows you the 2 extreme productions. That means at maximum, how many wheat can we produce, and at maximum, how many computers can we produce. Now, when you're looking for the opportunity cost, whatever you're looking for, put the maximum production on the bottom of the fraction. Okay, so for our wheat production over here, the opportunity cost, we're going to put the maximum number of wheat on the bottom. So that will be 5,000 wheat. And then the maximum production for computers on top. And there will be 500 computers. And then simplified, this will be 1/10 computer. That means in US, whenever you produce 1 wheat, it will cost you about 1/10 a computer. And then for the US computer price, we do the same thing. So looking for computers, so the maximum number of computer goes on the bottom. So there will be 500 computers. And then wheat goes on top, so there'll be 5,000 wheat. And then let's simplify it. So this will be 10 wheat. So in US, when you produce 1 computer, it will cost you 10 wheat. All right, and then next, did somebody ask me a question? Let me see. See, Amir just asked me a question. Nope. All right, and then we'll do the same thing for Japan. So for Japan over here, at maximum, they can produce. Now remember, looking for the price of wheat. So wheat goes on bottom. So maximum can produce 1,200 wheat. And then for computers, they can produce a maximum 240 computers. So simplified, this will be 1/5 computers. That means whenever they produce 1 ton of wheat, it will cost them 1/5 computers. And then for computers in Japan, same deal. So 240 computers goes on bottom. 1,200 wheat goes on top. So this will be 5 wheat. All right. Once you have the 4 prices, you've finished most of the problem here. And then the last one, to find out the comparative advantage. Let me show you the definition for comparative advantage. So comparative advantage, here we go, is the ability to produce a good at a lower opportunity cost than the other producers. So let's look at wheat. So for wheat, in US, it will cost you 1/10 a computer. In Japan, cost you 1/5 computer. So for US, the price or the opportunity cost for wheat is lower. So we say US, we have a comparative advantage in production of wheat. And then for Japan, if you look at the computer price, in US, it will cost 10 wheat. Japan costs you 5 wheat. So Japan has a comparative advantage in production of wheat. Now, remember what I said before. For comparative advantage, it's always one country, one comparative advantage. Okay, so if you know US is good in wheat in comparative advantage, that means automatically Japan must be good in producing computers. All right, now that's it for chapter 3. And then last one, let me show you guys chapter 4. So some important concept on chapter 4. So chapter 4, we start with what is the market. Now this is the same information on chapter 1, so it's fairly simple. And then we're also going to talk about something called a perfectly competitive market. Guys, imagine that when you need to buy some, I don't know what you call those things, those white printer papers for the printer. So let's say you go to Walmart and your Office Depot. Are they still around? Office Max. So Office Max, and then you want to buy some white printer papers. Which one do you buy? I mean, do you guys have any specific brand in mind? Like there's only this brand you will buy or that brand you will buy? Not really, right? Because there's really no brand out there. I mean, there are brand, but we don't care. Now, how do you make your decision? Is whichever is cheaper, right? So you base your decision on the prices. Um, Now, and then let's say you want to buy some toilet papers. Do you have any specific brand of toilet paper you want to use? Oh, I know I do. But guys, isn't it amazing that we don't care about the paper we read on, but we care about the paper we wipe our ass with and throw away. The reason why is that your white printer paper, they're all the same. The different toilet papers, they have different textures, different strengths, different quality. So there's a difference in there. Now, for your white printer paper, they're in the perfectly competitive market. So for this market, the good produced by every company is all the same. So for all the company out there, everybody makes the same good. And then you have many, many buyers and many, many sellers, and nobody can influence the price. So everybody is just a price taker. That means you take what the price is already set for you in the marketplace. You cannot set your own price. Because if you set your own price and the price is higher, nobody buys from you. Okay, so that's a perfectly competitive market. And then for chapter 4, we're assuming that all we're talking about is a perfectly competitive market. Now, law of demand is simple. So law of demand just says that when the price goes higher, we buy less. When the price goes lower, we buy more. So it's very straightforward, common sense. Okay. This is easy. Now notice here. Let me turn to the screen so you guys can see me, because this is a very important concept. All right. It's a little exercise I like to do. So you can do this with me. Now, put your hands out like this. So your palm facing you. Okay, so having knuckles out. Left thumb out. Right pinky out. Okay, everybody got it? Now put it back. And then right thumb out. Left pinky out. Okay, so this will be to the right. Now, depends on your screen. It might be switch around. Okay, but you want to do this with me. So this is to the right. This is to the left. So every time you have an increasing demand, you want to shift it to the left. Anytime you have a decreasing demand, you want to shift it. Oh, what did I say? I'm sorry. Increase is to the right, decrease to the left. Okay, so increase, decrease, increase, decrease, increase, decrease, increase, decrease. All right. So remember, anytime it's increasing, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's the demand supply. If it's increasing, you go to the right. If it's decreasing, you go to the left. Okay. So increase, decrease, increase, decrease. Now, don't think about this as a up and down, because if you do up and down, you get it confused. So if it's increasing, you're shifting to the right. If it's a decreasing, you're shifting to the right. When I was in high school, my senior year, I had a very cool speech teacher. She's a very cool lady, Hispanic lady. But we talk about all kind of stuff in class. But in school, there are certain stuff you cannot talk about. For example, sex. So every time when she talk about sex, she never call it sex because you cannot talk about it. So she always call it up and down. Okay, so no up and down, only left and right. So increase, decrease. Okay. All right. Now let me go back to screen sharing. And curve. it's not going back. There we go. Okay. All right. So whenever you have these shifters, that's a change in demand. So change in demand, you're going to increase to the right, decrease to the left. Now, there are a couple factors that can cause a change in demand. First one's number of buyers. So every time a number of buyer increase, your demand increase, and anytime number of buyer decrease, your demand decrease. So shifting to the right, so this will be to the right, that's an increase. And then if it goes in this direction, there'll be a decrease. And the second factor is your income. Now for income, make sure to know the difference between a normal good and the inferior good. So normal good means when income goes higher, you buy more. And the inferior good means when income goes higher, you buy less. So example for inferior good, it's like your dollar stores, your ramen noodles, your dollar menu in McDonald's. So those would all be inferior good. So when income goes higher, you wouldn't buy those good anymore. So they're inferior. Okay. And then the next one is your price of other good. So your complement good, your substitute good. So when those good price change, it will also change the demand for the related good. So for example, between Coke and Pepsi, let's say for our consumers, you don't have any preference, so you don't care about which one you drink. You go to a store, and then all of a sudden the price for Coke increased by 100%. So the price for Coke doubles. Well, Coke getting more expensive, you buy Pepsi. But Pepsi, nothing changed. The only thing changed is that your Coke price increased. So these two, they're called substitute good. And on the other side, they call complement. So between let's say your sausage and your buns, so that's a complement. You buy them together. So when the price for one change, so let's say when the price for sausage increase, then you buy less sausage. At the same time, you buy less bun. Okay. All right. So taste is also a demand shifter. So every time you taste change, you will also change your demand. And last one is your expectation. So consumer expectation also has an effect on your current demand level. Now, I don't know if anybody here smokes cigarette, okay, or smoke something else. But if you smoke cigarette, you're gonna notice that the price for cigarette is pretty expensive. So in Texas, in the Houston area, you're gonna pay probably about $6 per pack. Now, if you go to New York, you're gonna pay about $10 per pack. Now, the reason why cigarettes are so expensive in New York is because in New York, they have a higher cigarette tax. So a lot of stuff what you pay is all going to the cigarette tax. And in Texas, every time we have a cigarette, every time when our government increase the tax on cigarette, we always increase it on Monday morning. But on Sunday night, you're gonna see long lines outside the gas stations, people buying cigarette. Now, why? Because we want to buy the cigarette before the price increase. So that's called expectation. So if you expect the Monday morning price is higher, then Sunday night you buy more. So your Sunday night demand level depends on your expectation for Monday morning. Okay, so that's your expectation. And then this table is very important. So this table shows you all 5 factors. So your number of buyers, income, price of other good, and then taste and expectations. And on the top, it shows price. Now, if those 5 factor change, so if this 5 factor change over here, you shift your demand curve. But if only the price change, then you move along the same demand curve. Okay, so make sure know the difference. So that's your demand, and the supply, same deal. So law of supply, when price goes higher, company produce more. When price goes lower, company produce less. Okay. Supply schedules, that's not important. And there are also 4. Now there are 5 factors for demand shifter. There are 4 factors for supply shifter. The first one is input price. So that's how much it costs for production. Second is your technology. Third is number of sellers, and then last one is also expectation. So when this 4 factor change, you shift your supply curve. But if only the price change, then you move along the same supply curve. Oh, also guys, if you need a PowerPoint, send me an email. I will send you back the PowerPoint. Okay, and if you check on D2L, the PowerPoint is already posted. If you're using the Eagle Online, then send me the email. I'll send you back the PowerPoints. Now, let me keep going. All right, so this is important. So the intersection between supply and demand is called equilibrium. And then from the equilibrium, we're gonna have our price and quantity. And then those price and quantity, they're the price for the market and then quantity for the market. All right, I think we're almost finished. Oh, 2 more slides. So anytime when the price is above equilibrium, we call this one surplus. So for this market over here, our equilibrium price was at $3. Now, if your price is at $5, then your quantity supplied it. So company want to produce more. At $5, company produce 25 units. But at the same time, when the price is higher, consumer want to buy less. So consumer only buy 9 units. So supply 25, demand is only 9. Then we have a surplus of 16 units. So anytime price is above equilibrium, so for this market, if the price is above $3, then we have a surplus for the economy. And then vice versa, if the price is below the equilibrium, so at $1, then price is lower, consumer want to buy more, want to buy 21 units, company only produce 5. Now we have a shortage. So price too high, you have a surplus. Price too low, you have a shortage. Okay. All right, I think that's it for chapter 4. Oh, this slide is important. So the difference between changing supply and changing quantity supplied, and then changing demand and then changing quantity demanded. So remember when those factor change, so when the 4 factor change for supply, that's called change in supply. When the price change, that's called change in quantity supplied. And then for demand, same deal. So when those 5 factor change, that's called change in demand. And when only the price change, that's called change in quantity demanded. And then that way, for the last one, you move on the same demand curve. All right, so that's it for chapter 4. Does anybody have any additional questions? Amir just sent me a message. I just missed it. We're only gonna use quiz on D2L as review the study. Or we're gonna use except sorry, Amir. So to study for the test, D2L quizzes will be the first one you should go to. Okay. Now many questions on your test are coming directly off D2L quizzes. Every time you finish a quiz, it will show you the right answers, and then you can go back. So you can go back to each quiz. Let me show you. So on your D2L quiz, so this is our class page. Now what you want to do, go to assessment, and then go to quizzes. Now you're gonna see a page like this, and it shows you all the quizzes, and then the due dates next to it. Instead of click on, now once you finish each quiz, don't click on the name anymore. See the little triangle over here? Now mine will look different to yours, but what you want to do, you have the same triangle next to it. So click on the triangle, and then you're gonna have something called a submission. Click on the submission. You can go back to see every single attempt you made, and you can see all the questions with all the right answers. So that will be the best way to study for the test. All right, guys. So if no more questions, we're gonna call end to the first meeting. But if you have any questions, send me an email, or you can also send me a message on Hangout, and I'll reply them as soon as possible. Hey guys, if nothing else, good luck on the assignment, and I will see you guys same time next week. Okay, see you later. Bye-bye.